Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on news up here at Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Coming up this evening, homes, schools and market centers in parts of the Volta region submerged as Volta River Authority spills more excess water from the Akonsombo Dam. Residents in distress will go live to some affected communities for updates on this rather unfortunate situation. Also, the founder of Defense Capital Bank, William Atuasian, to spend 15 years in prison for the role in collapse of the Capital Bank. We'll give you details of that shortly here on Hot Edition.
If the money that we've lost, they are ready to refund the money. We look at Section 35. If they go by that, they can have the same arrangement. So our preoccupation is to ensure that, one, justice is done. This one can be done either we get the money, or if we're unable to get the money, we will go into the full hall and then get the case judgment delivered. If they are convicted, so be it.
We have an exclusive interview with Deputy Attorney General Alfred Ocansey. Stay with us on Hot Edition. Also, Chief Justice begins probe to determine whether a new High Court judge should be tasked to handle Cecilia Dapa's case following accusations of bias by the Special Prosecutor. We have details as well, plus some of the comments and submissions during TV3 and 3FM's national dialogue on the asset declaration law earlier today. Stay with us here on Hot Edition. We have the latest in business, sports and entertainment coming over the next 60 minutes here on Hot Edition. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Also live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're live all across the world on 3news.com. We're streaming on Facebook at 3FM927 and on X or Twitter Spaces. Join us. Let's get into the details now. As residents in parts of the Volta and eastern regions are struggling to live normal lives as massive dam waters are released onto their communities. In the last 72 hours, residents have to wade through high volumes of water to move within their communities. Many of them are left without proper shelter or basic amenities. We're learning in some of the communities, homes are completely submerged while roads are rendered unmotorable. The spillage from the Akonsombo and Pong dams has wreaked havoc on 9 districts from Esojaman to Sogakope in the Central Tong district, leaving a trail of destruction. For the areas like Medeka and all the way to Mepe have also been severely affected as concerns for food and potable water begin to rear its head. Now, Gridco, meanwhile, has cut supply, that's power supply, to the communities as a life-saving measure amidst the high waters. Recall, where Gridco issued a statement last night indicating that their power station in that area had been submerged in the flood waters, and to ensure that they save lives and also prevent electrocution, they've had to shut down that power supply station. Now, 3FM's Joseph Armstrong Goldalog, based in the community, he spoke to some of the residents in Mepe in the North Tong district, and this is what they had to say.
I think that we're closer to the river and those things, but my house is almost a kilometer plus away from the river. But my house has been inundated in the water. All my buildings that I have over there, all I've 12 for my deep freezers are all in the water. So I don't know. When I was called from Accra, I came and the water was up to my knee level. When I climbed the story building to come down, it came to my neck. And there was nothing I could do. I couldn't rescue anything. In fact, I was having some, what is called, corn and other things in the room. My bed, my freezers, they are inside the water.
You said one person is in distress. Who is that? And then what was the condition?
It's one of my aunts. She's a stroke person. So she's behind the distance here, and I have to find a way of going to rescue her.
Yes, and they said for now, we've recorded a lot of houses, about more than 70% of houses have been met. Okay, so have you seen ADMO? Have you seen the Navy? Have you seen the police force? Have they come to your aid to assist you in any way? Please, this is a disaster. And then I may say, NADMO, you don't see any effort of the NADMO. They are not here doing anything. I just saw one lady writing names, not do anything. Only having paper, writing names. That's all they are doing. And then I even approached the police, Ghana Police Service at Mepe to assist with their vehicle. They have their vehicle being packed. They said they don't have food. We are ready to give them food, but they refuse to help people. I don't know, the police, are they there to only for crimes, or they are there to serve the public? I don't know. I think their commander needs to answer this question. And then also the district assembly, the government officials. I only saw the MP around yesterday. Apart from that, I don't see the ministers, I don't see the MP, I don't see the president or whatever. It means they don't care, or VRA official. They don't care. This is very, very painful. This is very painful.
Currently, there's no business happening in the North Kong district.
My brother, there is no business. Everybody is running, looking for some place to settle himself or to have himself. There's nothing going on. No school, nothing, no activities. Everything is flooded.
That's the situation there. Rather unfortunate, to say the least. And in the Mepe area, where if you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, we've been streaming videos of the extent of the devastation caused by the flooding. And as we go on 3FM927, you'll see the extent of damage we're talking about. And we understand that close to 600 people have been displaced in that community alone. And this is not just limited to the Volta region. We understand some coastal communities as well in parts of the eastern region have also been affected. Talking about areas like Akuse and Asuchari and so on have all been affected as a result of the spillage of excess water from the Akonsombo Dam. Yvonne Nikwe is Eastern Regional Correspondent. She's joining us on the telephone for a quick update on this. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. We understand there was a press conference earlier today by the Volta River Authority on the spillage of the excess water. What exactly did they say?
Well, Alfred, they've been commiserating with the affected residents, but the explanation is that it's unfortunate the spillage would have to continue, otherwise the dam might be affected because the integrity of the dam must be protected. The inflows into the dam is rising higher than the expected levels, meaning that the spillage levels is increasing. Several more residents downstream, mostly from the Volta region and quite a bit down the eastern region, will be affected as it goes on. It says it can only closely monitor the inflows to probably understand when it can possibly close it. Otherwise, unfortunately, the spillage would have to continue.
But how about the measures as well that they can put in place to at least mitigate the level of impact of this spillage on residents, at least based on the evidence of what we've seen so far, the extent of devastation caused by the excess water they've spilled for the past 2-3 days?
So this is the explanation they gave. From their explanation, they said that before the exercise commenced, they had actually indicated the communities that were greatly to be affected, and so they moved them to where they called a safe haven. Unfortunately, the numbers are becoming overwhelming. It means that they would have to now deal with a huger number than expected because the inflows have increased. Probably move them to better places where they would have temporary shelters and then take a deep down before the situation resides.
I see. But how about the residents as well? I know you've been speaking to some of the persons living in these affected communities. What have they been telling you?
Well, it's been a devastating issue for them, especially for those who are not expecting it into their communities. You know, the VHR had already announced the number of communities. For those who were not expecting it, it's a shock. It's a rainy season as well, so probably if you don't have a neighbor to stay with for a while, it means that you'll be in crisis. You might probably be testing in a church facility or classroom to wait what will happen there.
That's a rather sad situation, is it not? Thank you, Yvonne Nikwe, for this update. Yvonne Nikwe is our Eastern Regional correspondent and giving us some updates of what the VRA has been saying. And unfortunately, the reality is that the spillage is not ending anytime soon because they are also looking at the integrity of their Konsombo Dam, and so they would have to continue spilling. Now, we have communities such in Asuchari and Akuse, all in the Eastern region, that have been affected. If you come some part of the Greater Accra, the eastern part of the Greater Accra region, we have Ada as well that has been affected, so the coastal community in that area. Now, for the Volta region, that's one of the heavily hit areas. We're talking about Mepe, where my colleague Joseph Gold Armstrong Alogbe is in that community. We are talking about areas such as Sogafe, Kofe, Akachi, Adidome, Anglonga, Abo, Keta, Mepe, and all these areas have been affected. Joe, where exactly have you been to apart from Mepe as we speak?
Yeah, Alfred, currently I'm at the Sogankofe substation of the VRA, and you may recall that on the place some hours ago, and the pictures here tell the story where you've seen that the substation itself has been submerged in the flood waters. And the more worrying is how close the Komboni Polyclinic mortuary is very close to the substation, meaning very soon the mortuary will also be submerged by the floodwaters. So we just spoke with the Komboni Assistant Health Director, who says that they are making plans to see how they can transfer over 250 bodies in the mortuary to nearby mortuary, so that when the floodwaters take over the mortuary, it will not become a mass disaster or a public infection will not spread around this area. So that's what it is right now. Now, not far from here is also the main Sogankofe Bridge, where you see that the water has risen to the very top, and it's just about hitting the main bridge of the Sogankofe Bridge, Sogankofe main bridge. I saw some Navy officers and also people from DRA trying to clear some of the weeds that are blocking the way of the flood waters, and that is not an easy task at all. As I say, if you do not clear the weeds, that can also add more weight onto the bridge that will lead to its total collapse. The situation here at Sogankofe is very bad, as almost all schools here, including the Komoni Senior High Technical School, have been temporarily closed down, with any other basic school close by have all been asked to go home until further notice, Alfred.
I see you were earlier in the this is the Mepe area, but before we get into the exact experience that the people there shared with you, you've been talking to some of the residents of Sogakope as well. What have they been telling you?
Yeah, so for them, they are still looking forward for a rescue team to come to their aid, like the NADMO and then the Navy, to come to their support, because we went to a place called Sope. There are some villages at the Sope area, and about 20 buildings I can count on my own, even though they are saying the buildings are more. What I could count is about 20 buildings that have totally collapsed in the flood waters, and farms that people claim they are about harvesting their crops have all been destroyed by these flood waters. Now, all they are saying now is after everything, they want to be compensated by the VRA, because now they've lost every single property that they can boast of. And what counts right now, they don't even have a place to sleep, rather than to move to some schools that have currently shut down to go and sleep for the time being. But the schools themselves have also been surrounded by the floodwaters, just that they are a little bit on a higher ground. Also back in Mefe, where we saw the Bato Hospital, we spoke with the administrator over there, who tells us that currently they are safe, but they've also been surrounded by the floodwaters, and then they are hoping that they could hold on the spillage for the time being, for the current water that they've already spilled will move into the sea, then they can continue again. That if it's possible, so that they will not cause any more problems for residents and hospitals as well as schools in all these communities, Alfred.
I see, but how about the Mepe community? We understand about 2,000 households in that community have been affected by the flood waters so far.
Alfred, I want to say that the houses in there are more than the 2,000 households they are referring to, because almost every single house in there have been taken over by the flood waters. And that place called Mefe, the situation has that you only see the rooftop of the various buildings which the water has taken over. As we went round, even a smaller canoe cannot ride on the flood water because of the pressure the water is coming with, Alfred.
I see. So as it stands now, what exactly has been the a provisional intervention by the NADMO to these MEPA community residents?
Okay, so right now I have not sighted any NADMO official around so far. When I went to Mefe, when I went to Bato, I went to Sopi. I'm currently at Sogankope. I've not seen any NADMO or officers around, even though we are told they were around somewhere yesterday and throughout the night. I'm yet to see any of them around. Currently, I'm heading towards the Holy Trinity Spa area that we are told that place who has been badly affected because they are below sea level, meaning the impact towards that area will be more devastating compared to what we've seen already. Because if you know the Komboni area, you realize that they are on a higher ground, but even with them, they are heavily affected. So I'm just imagining how the when you go down there, the spa area, I'm just wondering how that area, that enclave, will look currently. So we just calling that maybe the Navy and Co probably should have to be on standby. I always saw the Navy people around the Sugankope main bridge. I saw them just around that area, even that without a boat. What the residents are calling for is, if possible, let's send the Navy, let's deploy the Navy with their boats to move to the various communities to assist. Because the few neighbors or natives that are using their canoes to help people are charging the residents, and they are charging as much as 10 cedis per ride. So if you move a television from your room to a safer ground, you are charged for 10 cedis. To go and come back to use your sofa, you are charged another 10 cedis. So residents are saying that they are spending so much, even though their properties are being destroyed. They have to spend the little money they're left with to move their goods and their little properties. They are paying so much to evacuate all those things, and they need the government, not more, and they need this to their rescue effort.
Thank you. Joseph Armstrong Gold Alope is in the Sogakope community as we speak. A rather unfortunate situation hitting most parts of the communities in the Volta region, especially the island communities and the coastal communities there. Now, thankfully, we have the Deputy Director General, the National Disaster Management Organization, that's NADMO, is leading the relief efforts in these areas that have been hit by the spillage of the excess water from the Akonsombo dams. Mr. Saji, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. First of all, have you been to the Sogakope and Mepe communities as yet?
Yes, we have done all the town areas, South Town, Central Town, and North Town. As we speak, from your report, North Town is where the whole place, especially the Mepe community, that water has taken over almost the whole community. Even the other side of the road, the water has found its way to the other side of the road, to the extent that where we are moving the people to, which is St. Kitito Catholic Secondary School, the road to the place, we cannot access that road to even send food items to the people. So we just managed to mobilize a boat so that we can go where the school is a bit elevated. So, I mean, the water will not get there. But the route to the place is also a difficult challenge now for us.
So, this is the Mepe community, correct?
This is the Mepe community, yes.
And you are saying that where you are going to move the residents to,
where we have moved them,
where you have moved them to,
they are there.
That's
we
the
have
St. Kitito area.
Yes, that's secondary school.
The secondary school.
It's called St. Kitito Secondary School.
450 people are there.
Yeah, 450 people. We moved them yesterday afternoon throughout the night to this morning. And it is this morning that the water has taken completely over the road. The road has been taken over completely. But the school is quite at an elevated point that, I mean, the water will not get there. But reaching them is also becoming very difficult. I what we have done is that the Navy is already patrolling. The military is going to come in very soon. They are going to be there very soon to also assist. We have also moved the NADMO. We have some few booths at NADMO, and we are moving them there now and moving some more relief items too. What we have is already on the ground serving communities in Central Town and North Town. At least all those we have moved to safe havens, we have tried to administer some relief to them as of now.
We understand the VRA has indicated that the spillage is going to continue to secure the integrity of the dam. Do you have any idea how many days this spillage will continue?
That we don't know, but the VRA is giving us indication that they are hoping that in the course of about a week, they started on Tuesday, so we are hoping that in about a week, the rate of spillage will be reduced, and then we can start getting some respite for the water to be receding.
The concern of the residents was that the notice for this spillage was short, and so they couldn't do much about it.
Yes, so can't say to a large extent they are right about the kind of level of spillage now. The spillage started 2 weeks ago, and I'm not sure you even heard it. 2 weeks ago, VRA had alerted all the communities of their controlled spillage, and that spillage was going on. But because of the inflows from their catchment areas up north, they had to secure the integrity of the dam, as you have said. So they suddenly increased the rate of spillage. But they had informed us a day before, and we had informed a lot of communities. But because the spillage was ongoing, and the people already knew that spillage was ongoing, it was not causing any havoc from last week. I mean, some people didn't know the extent of the spillage that they were going to carry out. And this thing took everybody by surprise, even the staff of the VRA themselves. They are also surprised.
I see, but so this cannot, the rate of spillage now or of the excess water cannot be described as controlled spillage, as was earlier communicated.
Well, controlled spillage when they started. So but now
that's what I'm saying now.
So yes, now it is not. Now it is phase. They have emergency phase 1, which is normally the controlled spillage. When it gets to emergency phase 2, it is no more. And now it is emergency phase 3.
Which means that it's uncontrolled spillage. It's just you're just releasing excess water without any control.
Exactly, to save the integrity of the dam, because if in the likely event that we have a dam break, we will not be even talking this way. It will be something unimaginable. So in order not to have that kind of situation, this is what we are having, which is also terrible and affecting us seriously like this.
Apart from the relief measures, any conversation about what has to be done, I mean, going forward to ensure that at least there's some level of mitigation of the impact of these excess water spillage on some of these residents?
Thank you, Kante. This is a conversation that we will have after we have been able to stabilize the situation now. Our preoccupation now is to make sure that we don't record even a single loss of life. As for properties, lots of properties have been lost already. We are yet to record a single loss of life, and that's what we are trying to guard against, to make sure that everybody is rescued and placed at a safe haven, and maybe some attention is given to until the situation normalizes. Then we can start talking about the medium to long term of dealing with these issues.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Saji Saji. Saji Saji is Deputy Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization. He is leading the relief efforts in a number of these communities in the Volta and the Eastern region affected by the spillage of excess water from the Akonsombo Dam. What we're learning from the Volta River authorities is that the spillage is going to continue. to save the integrity of the Akonsombo Dam because the water levels are rising. And so now this is not a controlled spillage. This is an uncontrolled emergency spillage that's going on, and it's having a devastating effect on a number of the residents in some communities that we have earlier mentioned. In Mepere alone, we understand over 2,000 households have been affected by this spillage of excess water from the Akonsombo Dam. We've touched base with the situation in Sogakope, Akachi, Atidome, Longa, and Abo, Keta as well. Part of Keta, especially the coastal communities there, have also been affected by the spillage of the excess water from the Akonsombo Dam and the surrounding areas as well. We have eyes on how things are playing out in all of these communities here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. As earlier I indicated, not the Sogakope. In fact, this is not the Mepe station, but the Sogakope station that has been shut down. The Great Co has issued a statement to that effect, and we have a copy of it. Emergency shutdown of the Sogakope substation. Now, the Ghana Grid Company earlier in the statement, together with the Volta River Authority, informed the public of an emergency shutdown at the Grid Co's Sogakope substation, affecting power supply to Sogakope and its environs. The shutdown is due to flooding of the substation as a result of the ongoing controlled spillage from the Akonsombo Dam. Gridco has undertaken this substation shutdown as for safety reasons to mitigate the risk of electrocution, loss of life, and related dangers. And they've indicated that power will be restored as soon as the situation improves. And Gridco and VRA expressing their deep regrets of any inconvenience caused by this exercise. So that's what's come through. And this is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Also live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's get into our next story now, where founder of defunct Capital Bank, William Atuesen, will spend 15 years in prison for his role in the collapse of the bank. Despite reaching an agreement to refund 90 million cedis to the state, William Atuesen only managed to refund 37 million cedis, hence the imposition of the custodial sentence. He was slapped with a total of 95 years jail term. Let's understand this, 95 years for multiple counts of stealing and money laundering. Now, these sentences were to run concurrently, hence he would be spending 15 years. And so let's have a clear understanding of how all of this works and how the 95 years actually now became 15 years, because as was earlier reported, my colleague Lord Edwasari sat through the court proceedings and is here with us. So help us understand how the concurrent service of this jail term will be 15 years, even though he was charged with many counts that amounted to 95 years.
Right. So, Alfred, you know that William Atuesen was facing 16 counts of money laundering and stealing. So let me just take you through the breakdown of his sentence. Please. That summed up to the 95 years. So conspiracy to steal 100 million Ghana cedis, 10 years in hard labor. Okay. Stealing of 100 million Ghana cedis, 15 years in hard labor. That's 25. So that's 25. Money laundering of 100 million, 4 years. Conspiracy to steal 30 million cedis, 10 years. Okay. Stealing of 30 million cedis, 10 years. Money laundering, 2 years. Stealing of 35 million cedis, 11 years. Right. Money laundering, 2 years. Stealing of 2 million, 2 years. Money laundering, 2 years. Stealing of 5 million cedis, 6 years. Money laundering, 2 years. Stealing of 12 million cedis, 8 years. Money laundering, 2 years. Stealing of 8.5 million Ghana cedis, 7 years. And money laundering, 2 years. So when you total all this, you get 95. But then all these are supposed to be run concurrently, as we reported earlier. And so the highest, if you go through it, is 15 years, which is the stealing of the 100 million Ghana cedis, followed by the 10 years for the conspiracy to steal 100 million cedis. Right. So that's how we arrived at 15 years, although he was sentenced essentially for 95 years. So, after the ruling, we sought to get the thoughts of the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Ocansey, who says that, well, he's pleased with the ruling, but then he he could possibly appeal, right, if he's able to offset or pay the remainder of the money. Mind you, out of the total 90 million, Atuesen has been able to pay only 37 million after coming to the agreement with the state. Let's hear him out.
Thank you very much. Effectively, he's been sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. I think this is a matter that started long ago. And last year, we decided to enter into an agreement with him for him to take advantage of Section 35, as you know. We were expecting that he would go by the agreement that we had. Unfortunately, on the spot, he could not fulfill his part of the bargain. And as we speak, he's been able to pay close to about 38 million Ghana cedis, 38 million Ghana cedis. And because of inability to pay the agreement that we had, the court reserved the right, or had the right, to sentence him into a prison term. And today, the court did just that.
But, I mean, Justice Eric Chebafor knows that while he's in prison, when he's able to pay the remainder of the money, he'll be able to work out as a free man. Is that the case?
I'm here to get a full complement of the orders of the court. Now that he's been imprisoned, if he gets the money to pay, that's another ball game. We'll look at it. Because after the court has given the way its ruling or judgment, the court becomes official. And so my expectation is that when he pays, then perhaps it will go into litigate when he wants to appeal against the sentence. But I'm here to get a full ruling, to go through it and see what the judge said. But so far as we are concerned, the sentence into 15 years imprisonment. Let's hope that he gets the money to pay. And let me also add, even if he's going to serve the 15 years, Ghanaians have also benefited somehow, because at least 37 million has been paid to the state. If he had been sentenced last year, we couldn't have even recovered a CD or a PESWA. So there's no utility in the decision that we took last year concerning our decision to enter into an agreement with him to take advantage of Section 35. If nothing at all, the state is now richer by 37 plus million Ghana cedis.
Now, the goal is to recover the monies, but Capital Bank is one of several banks that collapsed. And I mean, what happens to the other banks that are pending? We need to recover those monies as well to the customers.
Yeah, as we speak, we have other cases in court. Beige Capital is in court. We are hearing the matter. And then I don't know when we'll be able to finish, but we've gone far. UT is also in court. Then you have other banks, Dr. Dufour's Bank, they're also in court. So there's a series of cases in court. We are doing them one after the other. And let's get.
Is that the case that, because the end goal is to recover the monies, but is the end game also to, I mean, at some point get to the plea bargain where they'll be able to, the state will be able to make the agreement that you had with ASEAN for them to get the money back?
Yes, if the money that we've lost, they are ready to refund the money. We look at Section 35. If they go by that, they can have the same arrangement. So our preoccupation is to ensure that, one, justice is done. This one can be done either we get the money, or if we're unable to get the money, we will go into the full hall and then get the case judgment delivered. If they are convicted, so be it. So if any of the other people who are facing trial are of the opinion that they may want to take advantage of Section 35, nobody will stop them, because it's not limited to Atuesen, it's limited to all other people who may want to take advantage of that section. So we are waiting, but we are still prosecuting our case in court.
So that's the Deputy Attorney General there. You spoke to him exclusively on this, correct? Now, so 37 million out of the 90 million is what he's been able to come up with. So we're talking about a balance of what, 53 million?
About 53 million.
So the point is that if he's able to come up with the 53 million, he could escape jail.
Well, in summary, if he's able to pay, then he can appeal, right? And upon appeal, the judge can decide to, let him go.
Okay.
But he has to settle that clause. I mean, today the atmosphere in court was a bit tensed. I mean, so after the ruling was given, after the judgment was given, you could tell his eyes was welled up. He was in court with his wife and some family friends and family as well. And she, you could see, was distraught as well. Once the judgment was given, she went close to him together with his lawyers, and they tried to sort of console him. And it was a keen moment, very distraught, as anyone could see. But that's what happened in court today, Alfred.
That's expected. Thank you so much, Lord Aduasari. They sat through the court proceedings earlier today. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Also live on W93.5 in Wa. And let's stay with the courts, because the Chief Justice has begun a probe to determine whether a new High Court judge should be tasked to handle the Cecilia Dapar case. Now, the Office of Special Prosecutor has filed a petition claiming that the current judge, Edward Chum, is biased. Now, Justice Chum had previously, if you recall, ordered the OSP to release various sums of money seized during a search of Cecilia Dapar's Abelimpe residence. Now, the special prosecutor believes he will not get a fair trial should the same judge handle the case. Our colleague Joseph Akablay covered this particular story earlier today in court. Now, beyond this concern, Joseph, what more did the OSP advance in his argument against this particular judge sitting on this case as well?
In fact, the petition was sent directly to the Chief Justice, and so the judge was just notified of that petition. We understand a copy was made available to the court, so the judge did not go into the details of it, except to make the point that it is simply asking that he recuses himself. The OSP subsequently issued a statement where they give some additional details. They make the point that they believe that the judge is prejudiced against the Office of Special Prosecutor and the person of the Special Prosecutor.
Both the office and the person. Why is that?
That is what we do not understand at this point. And it's interesting because in terms of the person of the special prosecutor, the special prosecutor himself, Kise Jabin, has at no point appeared in court on this particular case. There are lawyers from the department that go over to represent him. And so it begs the question that, is there some history beyond his occupation of this office that they are not aware? And the request that he makes is interesting in that he's not just asking for a recusal from this case. He says any case relative to the Office of Special Prosecutor.
He doesn't want this judge, I'm talking about Justice Edward Chum, to be on it.
Yes.
But that begs a lot of questions, does it not? And they did not give further and better particulars about exactly why they don't want this judge,
not at all,
said, with any case that the OSP is involved in.
Not at all.
Now, but beyond this, so what happens next? I mean, after this particular claim or this concern that the OSP has raised?
So for now, it means that the courts cannot do any business on the case. So they've put the matter on hold. So it was in respect of, first, the case asking for a confirmation of the OSP's seizure and freeze order. That particular case, the judge is being asked to recuse himself. The second one has to do with the bit about the criminal aspect, where she has been charged with failing to obey the lawful order of an authorized officer of the Office of Special Prosecutor. In respect of that one also, there's again a request to the CJ to have the judge recuse himself. And so that also is also outstanding. And so the court has adjourned to October 18 with the understanding that maybe by that date, a response would have come from the Chief Justice as to whether the judge can remain on the case or not.
Good stuff. Joseph Akablay there sat through as well the court hearings on this matter earlier today. But, on this case, Joseph, I spoke to Martin Pebo earlier, who also raised the same concern about the anomaly, he says, of this same judge sitting on this particular case. This is what he said.
And if there's a civil case, it goes to judge, say, Z. But normally, you wouldn't find both criminal and civil before the same judge. No, it's not. So that's been the practice, well established. And I think it's good that the OSP draws the Chief Justice attention to it. Because once the case, it goes through an electronic placement system. So if the electronic system has put the criminal case to before the same judge, then the OSP has to draw the Chief Justice's attention that this is a state of affairs, and I'm sure the Chief Justice will do something about it. Because in the High Court alone, we have more than 40 judges. So once we have more than 40 judges, of course, not all of them do criminal, but quite a majority, an overwhelming majority do criminal cases. So once we have that relatively big pool, there is no reason why both cases will be before one judge. No.
I see. So that was Martin Pebbles, private legal practitioner, also sharing his thoughts on this matter. Still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 and beyond. Now, earlier today, TV3 and 3FM had a national dialogue on the asset declaration law and its efficiency in the fight against public sector corruption. And contributing to this, the Deputy Attorney General Alfred Ocansey indicated that he is, and together with the Attorney General's Department, by extension government, is aware of some of the concerns raised about the current state of the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, the fact that it still lacks the element of publication. That is a consideration that will be taken in as conversations go on. And this is what he had to say.
A very difficult disease that we can fight. And it's a cancerous tumor that if you want to uproot, you need a lot of effort. Now, if you look at Act 550, it has effectively repealed the PNDC Law 280 that you just mentioned. The reason for which it was repealed, I cannot sit here and say, but Parliament, in its wisdom, decided to pass a law that has effectively repealed PNDC Law 280, or publication of assets. Now, as the Commissioner said, if you have assets A, B, C, and D, liability A, B, C, and D, it should not be difficult for you to declare it. If actually you are very sure that declaration is something that or those assets are assets that you properly acquired. Now, the question about whether you are to publish it in the dailies or for everybody to see, the current law does not make such a provision. It's about you writing it as I did mine, then go to the Auditor General in a brown envelope, you dump it there, you take your receipt, you come back home, and you sleep. So if, for example, I have to use myself, I want to acquire assets more while I'm in this particular office. The simple thing for me to do was just to say, I own a house in Sunyani, that's my home base.
Right.
3-bedroom house. But in my declaration, I may say I have 10-bedroom house in Sunyani. If you go to Sunyani, you see a house there.
Yes.
So you may say, oh, DAG has a house in Sunyani. But since you've not verified, it's possible that within the 4 years that I will be in office, I will go remodel that house to a modern edifice.
And make it 10 bedrooms.
That is it. And so that's the house. So these are some of the shortfalls in the current law. Then you also look at people who come to public offices and then they try to acquire property in the name of others. Proxy ownership. Because if you're a bad person, what you do is that I've declared A, B, C, and D. But now I'm not going to acquire anything in my name. I'll have someone that will acquire the property in his name. And at the end of the day, if you want to verify whether I've used public funds to acquire property illegally, you cannot get me. Because it may be in the name of my uncle, my wife's sister, my wife's brother, A, B, C, and D. So that's also another real challenge. Now, we pose a question what the AG, the government, what are we supposed to be doing? There is in the offing this Conduct of Public Officers Bill. This bill has gone through extensive consultation and the
Respectfully, before we get into the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, in your own wisdom, do you think that the Parliament did a good job in the process of repealing 280 and now replacing it with 550? Because in my understanding, law has to also tie into the progress of society, is it not? So if we are repealing one law to replace with it another, and the current law is more of a retrogression of the previous law we sought to replace, then we haven't done the people any good.
Yes, let me take you back. Now, if you go to the 1969 Constitution, there was a provision on asset declaration, but to a very limited number of people, very limited. 79, we move forward by expanding the scope. Then we had this military regime that decided to bring a law that required that you publish the assets. We came to a constitutional regime, our own representatives. That's the price we have to pay for democracy. And
MPs?
Yes.
They went to Parliament.
They represent you and me. They went to Parliament and realized that they were going to pass a law that would not make it possible for you to publish the declaration for people to know.
But that was not the interest of the people. I don't think they really represented our interest in that.
And that's the reason why we need to review that act. And when we review it, it has to go back to them.
That's the Deputy Attorney General of Etuayabua. This is what Daniel Yao Demelovo, in contributing to the theme, also had to say.
To be verified, and I think we may have to go back for that. One big regret I have for Article 286 and at 550 is the fact that the act is entrenched, or the article is entrenched. So modifying it is very difficult. Why do I say so? I personally think that the Auditor General is not well placed to be the person to administer assets and liabilities declaration, except that people underrate the amount of work that the Auditor General has to do auditing the entire country, all the institutions, etc. The audit alone is too much for one person. And so to add asset declaration to it is to ensure that it doesn't receive the necessary attention that it requires. Because when you say you are Auditor General, you must concern yourself first with the main work of the Auditor General, which is auditing. So to be able to administer asset declaration and liabilities declaration effectively, I thought that should not have been first and foremost even the mandate or the responsibility of the Auditor General, but it is the responsibility, and unfortunately, like I said earlier on, entrenched. So changing it is going to be a very tall order or very expensive venture. But if we want to keep it under the Auditor General as it is currently, at least we must ensure that the declaration at least is verified, and I'm happy that the 2022 bill that I've seen has a provision for the declaration. We must ensure that people declare before they take their offices, and that is also being provided for under the 2022, which I've seen, which is good.
Daniel Yao Demelovo, former Auditor General, also speaking at the TV3 3FM National Dialogue on the fight against corruption in the public sector, making a case for the asset declaration regime in its current form. You can find more of it on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and also on 3news.com. And Michael Obudu is here with the latest in business. Stay with us.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. My name is Michael Obudu. Coming up, $4.7 billion remittance inflows makes Ghana the fourth largest recipient in Africa. We have the details coming up shortly.
Ready?
Well, let's now head straight into our first story now, as Ghana has been ranked as the fourth highest recipient of remittance inflows in Africa by the World Bank. The country recorded some $4.7 billion in remittance inflows last year, forming 6.1% of gross domestic product GDP. Remittances are a rapidly growing and stable source of foreign exchange inflow to several developing economies like Ghana across the world. Remittances through official sources far exceeded the size of official development assistance. Now, away from that, an Accra High Court has sentenced to 15 years imprisonment with hard labor former Chief Executive Officer of defunct Capital Bank Alfred Ocansey. This follows his failure to pay in full an amount of 90 million Ghana cedis he agreed to pay the state despite several lifelines given him since December 2022. Alfred Ocansey pleaded guilty to 16 counts of stealing, money laundering and conspiracy to steal for his role in the collapse of the Capital Bank. Now, away from that, the Israel-Hamas war has caused a spike in oil prices, which could worsen inflationary pressures locally. Executive Director of think tank Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Isif Sulemana, fears an escalation of the conflict could have dire consequences on the energy sector.
And that will just exacerbate inflationary pressures. And if you're a student of history in oil markets, you will understand that what happened in 1973, though it lasted barely for 1 month, it was enough to crash the global energy community. The entire Arab world, they united under the umbrella of OPEC, cut supply of hydrocarbon to the West. And in the twinkle of an eye, crude oil that was being sold around $3, skyrocketed to over $11. The finished products are imported. And if at the point in time that the West are also struggling, if there's a cut in supply of hydrocarbon to the area, where are we going to get to import? That is the situation that we're talking about. And so the hope is that players are much aware. The US and the partners on one side and the Middle East and its partners on the other side, they know the consequence of it very well.
That was Executive Director of think tank Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, speaking there. Now, away from that, state-owned enterprises incurred a loss of 1.7 billion cedis in 2021, a notable improvement compared to the 2.6 billion loss in 2020. This is according to the Sector Minister, Joseph Kujo. He highlighted this positive trend during the second edition of the Public Enterprises League Table Awards, underscoring the government's dedication to enhancing SOE's profitability.
The observation vindicates the president's vision he carries, that he wants to turn the public enterprises into positive performance. We've seen a decline when the 2019 report had 5 billion Ghana cedis in terms of total losses across the enterprises. Now you come to 2020, the loss comes to about 2.6 billion, and in 2021, the figure I've seen is about 1.7.
So that was the Minister of State of Enterprises, Joseph Kujo. They're bringing an end to the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next, sports.
Welcome. It's time for sports here on the Hot Edition. My name is Bill Lishen, and we're going to start off from African football because 24 teams will be drawn in 6 different groups at 7 p.m. tonight for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Ivory Coast. A global music icon, Akon, will be the host of the draw in Abidjan with the likes of Ivorian icon Didier Drogba, Mikel Obi, Senegalese superstar Sadio Mane, and Moroccan defender Achraf Hakimi, among others, set to grace the occasion. My colleague Oreku Ampofo is currently in Abidjan and is on the beat when it comes to the AFCON draw. Oreku, if you can hear me, take it away.
We're just a few minutes away from the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations draw here in Abidjan. The event is set to take place at the Parc des Expositions. As I speak currently, there are various dignitaries trying to find parking space. We know where to expect CAF President Patrice Motsepe. And then also with regards to the Ghana delegation, I've spotted Derek Boateng so far. At the moment, it looks like it's just a cocktail and the red carpet ongoing. The ceremony is expected to kick off officially at 7 p.m. local time. With regards to the Black Stars, we know that they're in Pot 2 alongside rivals Nigeria, and so both countries cannot meet. However, the Black Stars could potentially be drawn in a group with Ivory Coast, who are the hosts, Morocco, who reached the semi-finals of the 2022 World Cup, Senegal, who are the defending champions, Tunisia, Algeria, who are the 2021 champions, and then record winners Egypt. Ray Kwampa for reporting from Abidjan.
Yes.
Sports.
Thank you very much, Oreku Ampofo. That was very insightful there. Now, for those of you who are not aware of the teams, the 24 teams coming to play for the AFCON 2023 trophy. Now, here are the pots. Now, in pot 1, we have Ivory Coast, the host. We have Morocco, we have Senegal, we have Tunisia, we have Algeria, and we have Egypt. So Ghana will face one of these opponents because they are in pot 2 alongside Nigeria, Cameroon, Mali, Burkina Faso and DR Congo. In pot 3, we have South Africa, Cape Verde, Guinea, Zambia, Equatorial Guinea, and Mauritania. In pot 4, that's the final pot. We have Guinea-Bissau, we have Mozambique, we have Namibia, Angola, Gambia, and Tanzania. Now, speaking of the Black Stars, they are currently set to undergo their third training session after landing in the United States of America ahead of their friendlies against Mexico and the USA. Now, Istanbul's Başakşehir defender Jerome Opoku and West Ham United star Mohamed Kudus joined the team for their second session on Wednesday. Now, Ghanaian champions Midiama SC has also arrived at the United States for the game against Major League Soccer side DC United. The Malvern Yellows face DC United as part of activities to celebrate Ghana Week 2023. Let's move on abroad, where a period of silence will be held before England's game with Australia for the innocent victims of the devastating events in Israel and Palestine. The Football Association also said players will wear black armbands for the match at Wembley on Friday. More than 1,200 people have been killed after Palestinian militant groups Hamas launched a series of attacks on Israel. Now, Israel that launched airstrikes on Gaza and stopped food, water, fuel, and medicine going into the territory. Now, newly appointed Birmingham City coach Wayne Rooney has stated that he aims to get the club back to the Premier League. The former Manchester United forward was confirmed on Wednesday as the head coach following John Eustace's sacking by the management of the English Championship side.
That's the goal for the club, for myself, is to get this club back to the Premier League. Of course it is, and as Gary said, I think there's a lot of work to be done throughout the football club. I really enjoy developing players, developing senior players, but more importantly, developing young players as well from the academy. And we've had two lads training with us today from the academy, and straight away wanted them up with training with us because I want to see where they're at. I want to try and develop players as quick as I can.
Well, that brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen, and we're going to provide you further updates on the 2023 AFCON draw in subsequent bulletins. Up next is entertainment with Akofa standing by.
Thank you very much, Bill, for that. Let's start us off with the story where globally acclaimed Ghanaian singer and three-time Grammy nominee Rocky Dawuni has advised up-and-coming artists to focus more on improving their craft and work on creating meaningful lyrics to impact and inspire listeners. He spoke on New Day earlier today. Ghanaian music star Stonebwoy and Rocky Dawuni have made their move by submitting their work for Grammy consideration. Rocky Dawuni, a 3-time Grammy nominee, has entered the race with his song Shade Tree, and Stonebwoy has submitted his album Fifth Dimension. The nominations for the 2024 Grammys are set to be announced on November 10 in a star-studded live stream event. And that's how we end the entertainment news segment here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Join me later at 8 p.m. for the throwback edition of Wind Down. The 3FM Drive team continues after this.